Yes.
Aha.
Yes. Right, that's on there. Hi.
Hello, world.
Hello, world.
Do you remember
Yes,
watching?
you just catch me in the middle of some work. No, yes, we are. I was just writing that we are live on the forum. There we are. We're live. Yes, hello everybody. How was that?
Well, Southampton at home, and second season in a row we've through 1-1, and second time in a row we've come from behind as well. So we now have to keep at it against the Saints, and a very interesting kind of game where it was glimpses there of something slowly coming together. 20 shots is a much better stat for us to show. 9 of them on target. Obviously, scoring one will no doubt make people have their own questions. But when it came, it was a very nicely built up and worked goal. Right into play, and obviously, young Pedro has been able to bring that spark that we've been wanting all night, of which he then was able to deliver on within, I think it was 3 or 4 minutes after coming on. And I certainly think he's probably stamped his place to get himself on in the first 11. And then we've got Arsenal next, as we'll no doubt discuss later on. Something like that against a side who we're still above actually after tonight. I think could certainly do the trick. Defending for the goal, bit disappointing. Sold himself short. It was nice into play, but you can't leave such a big gap as ended up being the case.
No, that was full on brain fart.
Yeah, it just
and you know he knew it as well, because as soon as it went in his head in hands, he knew he'd made the mistake.
He did, but that's one in a sense counter positive. That in the sense of he then realised, Dan, I've made a mistake. I do not want to. I'm sure he'll learn and develop from it.
Keep losing your cash.
Huh?
Sorry, I keep losing you. I think.
Oh, try and bring it closer. Is that better?
Oh, that's perfect. It's all right. Yeah, it's as you're getting animated.
Went to a big room and a mic thing here on this laptop. Me not wanting to put my mic on at this point because I'm tired. Yeah, now at least Nelson is thought that he will want to make up for that. I don't think it was too bad going forward.
No, he was doing quite well forwards. I thought someone mentioned he was gliding past people, which I think is good description. He was just gliding past some people at times.
Yeah, kind of similar without Nari. This is only his third game. So he's still having to gel into the first team. Obviously, lots of people expecting him to do unbelievable things from moment one. That never works out in football like that.
He was looking very frustrated as well at times.
He was, yes, he was.
With himself as opposed to the team. So
indeed. But that's a growing process of a footballer. Big, obviously, I must say as well. Big, much love to Max following the loss of his father last week. The fact that he played at all, I think, demonstrates his
Yeah.
He's here to serve the club and serve it well. No, now obviously Connor still self-isolating post-COVID, actually, which is in a sense not surprising knowing the numbers who have got COVID and whatever. And obviously Romain, who himself currently has COVID. COVID. Power through, and I'm sure his father, rest in peace, will look down with great pride as to the way he's just, and say at least we tonight had plenty of chances. We were able to keep Alex McCarthy, I think, keeping quite busy. Some of those chances on another day probably should have gone in. At least I certainly think with the way in which Pedro came on, there is that spark, which I think at some point within a whole 90 minutes could come together. And it's a case of when will that be, and if we can get it sooner rather than later.
Well, I do think our best period was when we actually went with like a 3 behind Raul.
Yeah,
Raul had a bit of a stinker of a match, to be honest. Yes,
he did. Bless him.
Goal, but that shot. But the thing is, that shot Sunday's evening up. It hit the post. Luckily, the Neto there following up. But you know that summed it up. He really did have a stinker.
He did, but he get an assist, an inadvertent assist. I'm sure he'll take, obviously, for fantasy league purposes. And obviously unlucky with the offside for the header, which was a typical Jimenez header. But then I can sense the frustration with him was real, particularly when that lovely floated ball from Coutinho went through into him. And he didn't, but then he just, not messing it, quite frankly. And he immediately like, oh no!
Yeah.
Maybe there was a bit of industrial language I think I might have heard. What can you do when it's not your night? When it is not your night? Some people wildly on Twitter, and why I shouldn't use social media too much is someone suggesting that him being the game is finished in these kind of games. Come on, folks, he's still scored I think half of Walter's goals this season or something like that already. So keep it zip. It's one of those kind of nights which every single striker has.
I mean, he's been a bit off for the last couple of games, but I think he really had a prop. Nothing was going right for him today.
Yeah, indeed, nothing at all has gone.
So basically, next week, put him in your fantasy team because he'll probably score 2.
Knowing it's Arsenal away at the Emirates Stadium, and in fact he has scored those 2 goals in the seasons that we've played Arsenal. Both those 1-1 draws were thanks to Jimenez popping one up in the net. So it might, but still will be worth it. But still, 4 points I think for an assist. So I'll take it. I'll take Gervin Bill. It's been a fairly decent week, fantasy league wise, which is a small positive. All in all, in an interesting one. Don't you think? Obviously, the frustration of conceding the stuffed goal, as well as then obviously still plays for Southampton.
I was a bit disappointed in the midfield, to be honest. I thought, but bearing in mind we had 3 in midfield, I'd have thought we might have been a little stronger. I mean, at times we were, and then for a large period they just completely disappear off the pitch.
Yeah, indeed, all over the place.
I'm surprised Neves was the one who was subbed because I thought he was probably the better of the 3. But
but there we are. That's Nuno. But Neves went off for Pedro to go to attacking, and in a sense that did help. Obviously, in the end, with Pedro being able to go on to the end of Jimenez's whack off the post. So that was in a way a small consolation. But say, despite it, that there is something is down. I think the switching up to back 4, which is a miracle to behold. A back 4 under Nuno is something which I didn't think we'd see in a long time. I think there is with the way in which we played in the last, particularly in the second half, where we were fairly dominant. Something is there. It's just a case of, I still certainly think it's a case of when will it click and when will the goals come?
Something I found a little odd reading some of the comments and stuff is a lot of criticism of Traore, and
I'm not having that.
I don't know why. I genuinely don't know why. I couldn't see it myself. I thought he played reasonably well for the amount of ball, and he was getting stuck in and winning it. But certainly in the second half, he was winning the ball and taking on. When he started to get the chance to get some space, he was using it fairly well. I mean, there was a fair few times where there was no one in the middle again, or they were standing still. I mean, I just needed to see a bit better movement, I think, from the players in the middle. Oh dear. We appear to have lost cash. Mind you, I have to say, if you are watching this, that stalled picture of Cash is probably a better one, because normally when you've got a stalled picture, that's quite it can be quite embarrassing. Anyway, yes, the midfield, I felt did. Oh no, we've got Big Jez M waiting. I'll just Big Jez M. Exciting. Very exciting. Anyway, this is dead air time, so I'll just rabbit on back what I thought about the midfield again. Yes, I felt that they were in it, and then they're out of it, and then they're in it again, and they're out of it. But when they're out of it, they really were out of it. There's Cash come back in. Oh, there's Cash. Cash is back.
I am, but the internet for some reason decided to go haywire at that particular moment. I don't know why. It's some good old talk sometimes, but
yeah, my computer's having a big moment at the moment. It's having a bit of a troublesome time.
Where were we?
I was filling dead airspace with me rabbiting on about the midfield disappearing, and also what else? Traore, that was it. Yes, I thought I don't know why there's some weird criticism.
No, I thought tonight. I thought tonight Adama again. He got stuck in. He was causing problems. Defence didn't do too bad against him, but he was able to. Again, he was able. Goals his crossing could be better, but still, Southampton defence held up quite well in that regard. But Adama was able to use his pace, got into some decent positions. Obviously, causing that havoc down the right hand side. Why on earth are people going for him? I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that he isn't creating enough chances, or he isn't popping one in the net. But it will come. It will come again. It has been.
But to be fair, he's got 3 players on him pretty much all the time.
Yep.
And this is my criticism from last season, that if he's got 3 players on him all the time, why aren't there 2 of our players free somewhere, or utilising that space? Because if you cross what he's got to cross at, there's usually only Raul. Today there was obviously Podence or later on Neto starting to come in that space. And to be fair, in the first half we seemed to be we certainly were a lot further forward, which was much nicer to see.
Oh yes, that is one positive about the first half. Even if Southampton were dominant at the start and it took a bit of time, we were definitely more attacking minded in that first 45, which I'm sure will be a positive. I mean, it would have been nice if we could have followed up what we did against Palace and Sheffield United and put one in the net, but that's football at the end of the day. And as I say, with a particularly good performance by Alex McCarthy, who, as I say, if it wasn't for him, then could have had another. I think we could have had another 2 or 3 tonight. And unsurprised he got man of the match on the Premier League's app looking at it. So, say again, at least we were able to make the keeper work, and the keeper certainly lived up to his price. I don't know how much Southampton bought him for actually, but it's a good buy. It's a good little buy, as he showed this evening. At least Rui didn't, in a sense, have too much to do, neither. And whatever did come, obviously, he was pretty comfortable with it. Could do nothing about the goal and where the ball went to. Completely no one should go haphazard on Rui for that. But again, at least even if that was one defensive breach, the defense didn't seem too bad. Again, we seemed better.
No, it was weird, the defence, I thought. It seemed. I don't think their positioning was bad. They just seemed to be. I don't know, a bit switching off a little bit, and not concentrating fully. Which I mean, you could say, it's because they're not used to playing in the 4. But I'm thinking, well, no, this wasn't bad positioning because they're playing in a different formation. It was just not being alert. I think is it because they've become a little complacent having Cody to sweep up behind them. So when they haven't got that behind them, they think, oh, it's all right. Connor will come in and sweep that up or pick that up. But I don't know. I don't know what it was. It was very strange. It just seemed to be a. I don't like. I mean, I said complacency. I don't like saying complacency. It doesn't seem the right word really. But you know what I mean. There's just sometimes. Well, like the goal. The goal is a perfect example. It was like, oh God, that was me, meant to be me, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And there's a few occasions where that happened, but
indeed, yes, it's certainly certainly food for thought, no doubt, for Nuno and his staff tonight. Obviously, I think we missed Connor, but what can we do in such a situation where NHS test and trace us into New South Wales? And I think it sounded like I believe him was right. So he then in post that did in fact get COVID, and it's I think he's still a little bit coming out of his still got a little bit of a tiny bit of it in his system. But obviously he's following all the procedures and everything. And I suppose the international break showed that that England is still gonna need him at the Euros. I suppose though Connor having such an inadvertent rest, hopefully will make him. Maybe obviously not for the first one or two games because of how COVID affects the body and so forth. I don't think he will be fully up to speed, but I'm sure he'll do what he needs to do when he's back, and be charging that defence. And supposedly, as I actually hearing that he and John Ruddy will actually both been quite raucous from their positions in the right stand, kind of reserved in the on the in one of the boxes, I think away from the rest of the squad watching on, and then John obviously on the subs bench, and him being again being quite vocal. So at least they're obviously giving as much support as they could. I suppose natural segue on the support a bit. So it seems like a bit of good news in the sense that fingers crossed in the coming several weeks there'll be some folks sitting back on seats at Marnie, which would be amazing. And is I think a very welcome step forward. And I think ultimately is what I think many have been waiting for in a sense of people backing the team, us being the top man. Wolves have still got, I think, a rate of more than 350. I think I haven't seen a screenshot on the forum. That's 358 per 100,000 for the most recent stats, which means we're likely to be in the tier 3 system for who knows how long. But obviously, once we're down into tier 2, then it's going to be at least 2,000 fans in. And then eventually, whenever we're down to tier 1, it will then be 4,000 fans. And ultimately, money for the club, as well as then obviously being able to get fans on seats. And obviously then, so that 12th man. And I think a game like tonight, with us being as dominant, will be quite important when we've got fans in there. And even as a membership holder, I know my chances of getting in are, well, non-existent basically until I think everyone's allowed back in. It's still going to be good. And it is one big positive we can take out of today. That hopefully at some point in the next several weeks, well, I'm going to guess my hunch will be starting next year at some point. That will be bums back on seats.
Yeah, I reckon so. I mean, it'd be interesting to see. I mean, what is it? Tier 2 is 2,000.
Tier 1 is 4,000. Tier 2 is 2,000. Tier 3 is none at all. Yes, but looking at the numbers, I think usually more than 200 cases per 100,000.
So what tier was Wolverhampton when just before the lockdown? Have they just gone into 3 or they're in 2?
The rumour was going to go into 3 until then the Friday evening papers the day after that, and then obviously leaked all the info that there was going to be the whole England lockdown. And then obviously they're going to have to frantically run around and finally sort out 3 weeks worth of stuff within like several hours. No, it has been obviously the last time we all gathered at Molyneux was March the 7th against Brighton for that 0-0. It has been an extremely lengthy period without fans inside football grounds at such a high level. And as I say, ultimately, I think it will do, even if there's only 2,000 at the start, once we've been deemed, or once we're into that tier 2, I still think it will be 2,000 more to cheer them on. I'm not sure what the gist is with away fans. I think away.
No, I don't think there'll be any away fans.
And
I do find it a bit of an oddity that some teams are going to have home fans and then some won't be able to have home fans. Would that be classed as a disadvantage?
That's a good question. That is a very good question. Who knows? No doubt there'll probably be a few clubs who were conscious of that and probably made that representation to the Premier League. I hope that Wolves have been one of them. But what can you do in the circumstances where, where obviously case rates across the country differ massively? Built up areas, obviously the metropolitan areas having many more cases than a more rurally based clubs. So it's one of those things everybody's going to have to live with for, I can still think, a couple of months at least. Or maybe towards the end of the season. More towards reality when we reach the start of next season. Once hopefully all these vaccines, all these 3 or 4 vaccines, which all sound pretty good, particularly Oxford's and AstraZeneca's today, are able to then be rolled out. And I think once the vaccination process is there and people constantly test negative and the case rate plummets, fingers crossed that'll then be the trigger to eventually then let as normal as life as possible. And I think at that point, when we're able to go walk back in the colony, it would be one very fine day.
Yes, I'll tell you what I was thinking. It was because there was a chat about, with Nuno looking a bit down in the press conference and all that, and we should, could we do something about? And I was thinking of a couple of. I mean, some people suggested maybe recording a video thing, and I was wondering how to work out if I could get a bounce a Zoom screen into a Zoom screen into a Zoom screen and get lots of people on all at once, and then somehow stream that directly into the thing. But that would probably be an absolute nightmare and completely out of sync and therefore won't work. However, what I did, and then someone else did suggest, why don't just drive around Molineux in your cars when the match is on, and we'll just toot our horns, sort of thing, in appreciation, and make it clear that's what we're doing before, so they know that it's us doing it, and that's why.
Yeah. Well,
obviously we can't do that at the moment because we're properly locked down. But however, after the which we're not allowed in, maybe the first home game, I believe it's against not Liverpool, it's I forgot who it is now.
Let me have a look.
Anyway, whoever it is, because I've forgotten off the top of my head who it is, great preparation again. That maybe we organise to do something then, just to show our appreciation in the way that we can. I mean, we might be allowed to have some fans in, but that might be a nice way of doing it. And maybe we should actually do something and organise that.
Yeah, something like that. I think would go down quite popular as
quite a straightforward, simple thing to do. People aren't
fairly socially distanced. People in their bubbles, having to be in their bubbles because of obviously the law and so forth. That first home game actually is against Aston Villa. So on the 12th of December at the moment, before obviously TV nabbles of it. But it's only against Villa, and that obviously will be one we will win. So it could be, even if maybe I'd be surprised if 2,000 at that point because of so forth. You never quite know. Well, if in the case there was 2,000 and then a good number trying to get around, savings around.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you can stay in your car, so you're not mixing with people, but you can then make a load of noise that then is. They know that. We're there with them.
Yeah, a bit like actually just to mention actually Joe Biden's rallies in the States.
Yeah,
he did most of his via by cars to try and avoid super spreading, and that is exactly a more responsible way to do it instead of a mass crowd whilst the threat is still evident. But at least that is a bit of bright news. Obviously, all these news about vaccines and so forth. There's like I say, after darkness come light. And I think
maybe we could all get that organised. Do you think?
Yeah, why not?
The
It certainly can.
Thousands of people who are currently watching us right this second, waiting on our every word.
We can see what we can do for the number of you watching.
Let's get it done. Let's do that.
Absolutely, Aston Villa on the 12th or the 13th or whatever it is because of PV. Well, also actually that PPV has been put in the bin, and all the games are back on, all four of them. In fact, Fulham against Everton, quite entertaining one, was on the BBC yesterday lunchtime. It was a 5-goal film, which not a bad one for them to have picked actually in the end. And at least I suppose that that again is pressure from fans, and obviously a load of money as well donated to the well from 2 separate campaigns. Shows the Wolves Pack doing its thing, and also just to say as well that obviously lots of money I'm gonna chuck some money over in ahead of Friday, but I think there are still places left for the virtual Molyneux sleep out, which is this Friday, 8 p.m. until Saturday morning 8 a.m. Lots of stuff over Zoom during the evening, I think. And again, a load of money going to another amazing course in Liquid Shepherd, which is a phenomenal city charity. So if you get involved, hit Wolves' website, Wolves Foundation, check out those details there. Who was your man of the match? Moving on.
Well, before the man of the match, I just got some notice. What an awful referee!
Oh yes.
I know we say it. I know we all say it all the time, but I don't. I can deal with a consistently crap referee because they're at least consistent. I just like consistency, balance, and consistency. I'm all about balance. But no, I was getting very frustrated with what was constituted a foul one way and a card, and just there's nothing wrong with that or the other. So
Billy JNR on Twitter. That Bally JNR on Twitter sums it up very nicely. I won't use the expletive, but he sums it up very nicely by saying, "How the bleep did Southampton walk off the pitch without getting one single booking?" Several occasions there where the ref should have got his card out, and whereas we ended up with I think three or four yellow cards in the end.
Definitely Neves and Traore's yellow cards. I was like, well, if they're yellow cards, half their team should be off the pitch by now. If that's the standard.
Exactly. Did the referee socially distance from his cards? I wonder. Yeah. Whenever Southampton we're knocking the boys on the floor.
Pope Pedence got completely side down. Traore got side down. Several occasions he just got completely taken out. Nowhere near the ball. Absolutely nowhere near the ball. The players. They were deemed they were just normal fouls, and then he does something fairly innocuous. Yes, he was a little bit late, but I don't think it was a yellow card late.
No way.
Yellow card, and that's the only and it's the only foul that he's done. That's the worst bit. And you're like, well, just a minute. I've just seen him being scythed down 2 minutes ago, and it was nothing. It's like,
indeed. Even into the run up to the goal, it looked it took Rian.
Well, yeah. I mean, to be honest, they say, it was just a coming together. It was just a coming together, and I was like, well, yes, it was a coming together, but he did kind of lean his hip in as he went, and as they both jumped up. I mean, yes, that you can get away with that, but you can also have fouls in that. But if you're going to watch the run of the game, there was plenty the other way, and they were blown for fouls, and the game stopped. In fact, there was one about 2 minutes later, and you're like, well, just a minute. That's what just happened at there, and it was a foul, and then they scored from it. So
indeed, we can give the referee rating probably a 0 or 1 at best. swiftly moving on. Who would you give man of the match to? Whether Southampton, whether across the pitch, from both teams. That being full man of the match, and then obviously Moore's his best player. I personally would say, but man of the match as a whole, probably Alex McCarthy again. If it wasn't for him and his 3 or 4 good stops, we probably could have won that. We could have probably had 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Solid keeper, did the job. Then ultimately, as in a sense, saved their beacon. For us, I would probably, because of the way in which he came on and sparked the lads, I'm going to go with Pedro Neto. Again, the energy in which he had, and the fact that immediately he had a go within like 2 minutes, and then 30 seconds or a minute later, he then was able to put the one in the net. It just gives the team huge confidence. And I think even though it's his second goal of the season, it's still an important one, and I'm sure he'll be again feeling quite pleased about himself, and he's got every right to do so. So again, it just spurred all the lads up, and I think he'll be, if he's able to perform like that, then I think he could be quite hard to drop. As I think most of the season he's been probably the biggest bright spark of them all.
Oh, I think I was pleased to see him come on. I'm going to go for Pedence because I felt that once he'd gone off, we didn't attack again.
Mm.
And it's not just for his, it's not just for, and probably less for his just, him when he's on the ball. His movement and his finding of space is absolutely exemplary. I mean, really is. He is available in space so often and he's not always found, but he makes space. And when, as I say, once he went off, we didn't have another attack, which I find very telling. Despite I'm sure someone he's rubbish, he's terrible, which I've seen. It's rubbish, get him off. He's too small, and all that. But no, I disagree. I think bear in mind he had a couple of good chances as well, which were saved. So that's between him and Neto, I mean, I like both of them. So, and I'm to be honest, I'm Traore, and I would like us I would actually like us, as I've said for at least 2 seasons now, I actually would like us to be a back 4, and I think for us, if we played a 4-2-3-1, we'd get the best out of our squad. We might lose Cody though, which is a shame because he has been playing well and he's definitely marshals them. But could he play in that 4? He might be able to, because if you're playing a 4-2-3-1, those 2 in midfield are sitting anyway.
Yeah, indeed.
And then that allows us to play Pedence, Neto, Traore, and Raul. That's a pretty potent forward line.
That is, I think if eventually at some point I think those 4 are going to be the keys going forward, and I think I certainly think I don't think it was too bad formation wise. Oh, it was again one of those things in which he tried and eventually it grew into the game, and obviously the midfield has still got a bit of work to do, trying to ensure that they're more consistent and so forth, as is always the case.
The beauty of the 4-2-3-1 is that the back 4 is different, but the 2 midfielders will pretty much be doing the same job as they were doing before anyway. So they know that, they'll already know that role, and then the 4, then you've got 4 up front then instead of and they can sit and feed. They can either sit and help the defence, they can protect the defence, and then the fullbacks now would come up and support. So you just have 2 centre halves, or one of those midfielders drop into a 3. It's quite fluid. I think it could be a very fluid system for us. I mean, you can, because if you've got some ones who can just drop into the back and make a 3, or they can go forward and support, and they can have an extra man going up front. It's quite a nice system. But I don't know. That's that. It was just nice to see players further up the pitch. It really was. It's just pleasant.
Absolutely. I think that's the thing. I think which believes everybody as a whole. And it's I think once once the four at front, where once Adama, Daniel, and Neto, and Pedro, and then obviously Raul all click one game, then it could be fireworks. And I mean, once that comes, it will put a huge smile on everybody's face, because those four are fabulous in terms of a front line. Case of, at some point they all need to come into gear. It will happen. And I say at least we're able to use them, even if Rao obviously had very much an off day. We're able to use them all tonight, and it is good. It is a positive, and hope that continues as we go into Sunday against Arsenal, who are still below us in the league. I think if me looking at the table was right. It's still very, very tight though.
Oh, it is.
We're only 6 points off the top of the league.
Absolutely.
We're only 6 points off the top of the Premier League after 9 games. So nothing is said and done at all at this stage. And that Spurs are in the title race. And Jose Mourinho is doing his magic in the second season. He's doing what he needs to do down at Spurs. And I think again, this is such a wide open season where we're going to have to take our chances. And Arsenal on Sunday have been blowing hot. Arsenal have been decided to blowing hot and cold. And it will be very interesting to see how we approach it.
Which one's going to turn up, do you?
I don't know what kind of predictions to make. And I know we haven't done any hot takes, interestingly, yet.
Yeah, I don't really have any today.
Yeah.
No, I don't really have a hot take. But I suppose my hot take is I put Raul in your fantasy football team for next week, because he'll score 2. That's my hot take.
Oh, you think he'll score 2? What score would you go for if you're confident on that one?
2-0.
2-0,
Raul brace.
And then the rest of the league being like, oh God, this is not Wolves doing it again. As you face at Man City away. I think on the back of tonight, again, it's a point. It was quite a tough opponent in Southampton, who have certainly bounced themselves back very well since October 25th last year, and that 9-0 against Leicester City. So give them credit where credit is due to House and Hootel, and where they set up were able to eventually get us, which they did. But Arsenal still, again, I think blowing fairly hot and cold. When Arteta's team performs, as in the FA Cup final, for example, they perform, and it's. Who knows how it will pan out? But I think on the back of tonight, there'll be quite optimism. That again, it's one of the big boys. They are not performing as well as they can, and it's where we have been usually been able to pounce pretty well, as demonstrated against Man City both times last season and against Manchester United. And the fact we haven't lost to Manchester United in the Premier League yet, which is quite an extraordinary stat. I will go for a 2-1, and I think Raul will score at least one of them. I don't know who will get the other, but he'll get his confidence back knowing that he has scored against Arsenal those 2 years. He's a good player. He's able to, I think, his height and his ability against Arsenal sides, as he, I think, over both those goals, is what has helped. And it is going to be very interesting. Or did he score in the first one, actually? He scored away in the first season. I'm trying to remember. It's 2 years ago. But at least he scored last year, and it was a decent finish as well, actually. The way in which the cross came in, and he was able to, I think it was a very good plunking header or something like that. I can't fully remember. It has been such a long year.
Yes.
But he's good against the Gunners, and I think that will continue. And if it does, then I'm sure we'll take it, because also as well we are 4 points better off. Then I think we're 3 or 4 points better off. I think 3 points better off than we were at this stage last season. We're also 5 places better off than at this stage last season, and also 10 points clear of the relegation zone at 9 games, which of course the neighbours in Sandwell are very much stuck within that mire. So at least on
Terrible shame. Terrible shame. My heart bleeds.
I think that bottom, or I was going to say bottom 3, including Burnley, were looking doomed, but Burnley got themselves a very decent win tonight against Palace. Brighton obviously beating Villa, good on them as well. So that battle down there gets a little bit tighter and a bit more interesting. But the bag is Sheffield United looking fairly lost at this point, and I think for Sheffield United at least they're fan. I think pushing back on these many folks I know up in across postcode, but what can you do with second season syndrome? Well and truly hit aside that quite frankly overperformed last season. That's my hot take. Sheffield United overperformed last season. Sorry, Blades, if anything.
Well, as my computer looks like it's about to explode because I don't know, it keeps popping message up saying it's very unhappy. I think that's a good time to end it there.
Lovely.
We'll see you again on Sunday. Thank you very much.
Arsenal. Adios, everybody. Have a good one.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Adios.